It seems like every new update, there's a new mode that actively discourages CC usage.
Alright guys, so I just watched this video. It was really interesting, okay? He brought up a lot of great points. But there was a few things I disagree with. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys exactly what I'm talking about here. So he says a lot of these game modes discourage CC, okay? And that is true. But there was one game mode in particular that he says discourages CC. That's actually not correct. Okay.
These efforts didn't just stop at the frames who were clearing enemies, they also hindered any abilities, including crowd control, and even worse, to a much harsher degree. Let's take nullifiers as an example. Let's throw a Vauban Bastille and an Excalibur Exalted Wave at it. The nullifier bubble will stop both abilities, but notice that Excalibur actually harms the bubble.
And that right there is, one of the biggest parts I'm going to agree with him on. Okay. I think that's the part that needs to get fixed with, CC abilities. Okay. And I think it should scale based on power strength. All right. So imagine if radial disarm could actually start to diminish those nullifier bubbles, okay, and weaken, all Eximus units, okay, but only to varying degrees depending on how much power strength you're actually using, okay. And I think that's the biggest problem they're seeing, okay, is they don't want us to be able to cast radial disarm and then say there's no more, enemies that can stand in their way, right? They don't want that. They want us to have to engage with those enemies, at least to some degree.
Disruption actively goes out of its way to specifically punish CC against bomb carriers.
So that right there is actually incorrect. I had already started working on this video, okay? And since this new game mode is disruptions, I think this might be like a huge misconception, all right, that abilities don't work on demolishers, all right, because some of them do. And it's very important to know which ones work and which ones don't. So whether or not all this information is going to still be the same for the new demolishers, which are necromech enemies, okay, we don't know that yet. Right, so we just now got the game mode, so we're going to have to do some testing. So the first thing we're looking at is the abilities that they are immune to. Okay. Now, when this game mode first came out, this was the first thing I wanted to see, right? What abilities are going to work on these guys? So mind control doesn't work. Bastille doesn't work. Even with the augment, it's going to do nothing. Desolate Hands is the no-go. Divine Spears, Vauban's Bastille, Strangle Dome, Ureli Sea Snares doesn't work either. Limbo Stasis, obviously that one doesn't work. Mag's Pool doesn't work. No Fatal Teleport from Ash. Susceptible. They are susceptible to cold status effects. Okay? Slow effect from abilities. So Frost's Snow Globe apparently will actually slow them down. Nova's Molecular Prime. Okay? This is the reason why I almost always run with Nova, okay, to do these. Savagoth's Gloom also works. I was wondering about that one. So this part right here is going to be really important, okay? An ability range-based gloom is particularly effective, as Savagoth can stay away from the effective range of the Demolisher's nullifying pulses. If it was true that disruption missions were meant to discourage CC builds and frames, okay, then none of these abilities would work. They would just say, no, you need to hit them as fast and as hard as possible, and there's nothing you can do to slow them down besides actually killing them. Okay. And here's the big one. Okay. I'm getting ready to show y'all a build that I use. I may end up trying another build, but I'm not sure yet. Okay. I'm going to explain that here in just a few minutes. All right. So here's the big one. So chorus and snare will actually completely stop the demolishers. Now, it'll only stop them for a few seconds at a time. I think it's maybe 3 or 4 seconds at a time. So you will have to, you know, ensnare, shoot them a little bit, and snare them again. So you'll have to stay on top of them, okay? But as long as you've got, you know, either a Korra or someone with a snare, and they can get to the demolisher in time and have enough distance to, you know, keep them locked down enough so that your team can actually take care of them, you're going to be in business. So let me go ahead and show you guys the build I use for disruptions, okay? And I can tell y'all this. For me, disruptions are not that difficult, okay? As long as I can get to the demolisher in time, then we're not going to have too much trouble dealing with them. All right, guys, so here is my disruption build, okay? And I'm considering another build to try and see which one is more effective. So with this build, we have ensnare on here, and this works for the demolishers, okay? Or the bomb carriers, or whatever you want to call them. You know, and the other thing too, if you had someone with a snare and another player with gloom, like that is going to be a team set up for success right there. And get this, those are two, you know, builds that are heavily focused into CC. Okay, is what is actually going to, you know, be a huge benefit to the mission overall. Okay, so with these, I would say you either need to go real heavily into CC or, you know, decent CC and decent damage. Okay. But if you're planning on, you know, doing, you know, disruptions into high level, then you really need to have both. You need good CC and good damage. You need both. And so that's why I was thinking about a different option as to go with Saren, with either ensnare or gloom. And probably both, right? That way, so if I ended up on a team and they say, you know, we have ensnare covered, can you go with gloom? Then I could switch to gloom or I could switch to ensnare, but it depends on, you know, whatever the team needs, right? Another thing I'm thinking about, if I have Saren with ensnare, okay, I'm gonna be having, you know, like both of those areas covered, right? I'll have decent CC and decent damage. I have both. So as I'm looking at this again, Haro's Condemn also works. I wasn't aware of that one. So it says Loki's Switch Teleport also works. And I am just not sure how in the world that could ever be effective. But, I mean, who knows? So Magus Lockdown and Exodia Epidemic, those also work. You know, and again, like those are things you can carry with you at any point in time. You just need the arcanes to put them on. And Magus Lockdown, like that would be probably an excellent option right there. Reason being, with Ensnare, like you have to actually hit them with Ensnare. With Magus Lockdown, like you don't need to aim that at all. Like you just cast the ability and you're done, right? And you'll use that to, and grab a whole bunch of people in there. Oh, wow. And here's another one that could be incredibly interesting. Rhino Stomp can suspend the Demolishers in the air for the remaining duration of the ability. Okay. And with those, like, you can get that to about 13 or 14 seconds, I think. And the range is actually, like, pretty decent on that, too. So let's go ahead and look at the stats on his fourth ability, right? The radius is almost 60 meters, and the duration is 16 seconds. Okay. So if this could really stop them for 16 seconds, right? Then, like, this is Rhino would be an excellent choice to bring. And guess what? That is yet another CC focused build that's going to work with, high end game modes like disruptions. Now, he was right. The game mode does punish you if you don't bring the right builds and if you don't understand how the game mode works. Okay? So, like, anytime I'm trying to ensnare a Demolisher and they are blocking my ability casts, and I know I need to get some distance away from them and then go ahead and use the ensnare on them. So again, like you have to be aware of how the mechanics work. I think what they're going for is, they don't want every game mode to just be, press 4 and win. Like that's not what they want. They want us to have to learn about the game mode, learn about mechanics, learn about what works, what doesn't work, and we still have to keep, going to websites and looking up information. That's what we have to do. So, all right, that's it for now, y'all.